Okay. All right. Hey, good morning. Welcome everyone to the Friday Morning Book Group. Good to see you all and welcome. Today we are going to discuss The Buses Are Comin by Charles Person, the memoir of a freedom rider. Charles Person, one of only two freedom riders who are alive today. The book's cover was, tells quite a story in my mind. The picture was taken, if I could ask everyone just to mute for now, and then of course, when you want to speak, of course, unmute and raise your hands. The book's the picture was taken just minutes after the members of the Ku Klux Klan had bombed the Greyhound bus outside of Anniston, Alabama on Mother's Day in 1961 when the Freedom Riders were coming through. And even though the Supreme Court had outlawed segregated interstate bus travel in two decisions, the Freedom Riders were testing the compliance with these decisions in the Deep South, which was obviously a pocket of deep hatred and violence against Black people. And of course, the Freedom Riders knew that retribution was going to be in store for them, and we read about that in the book. They knew that retribution was in store for them when they entered Alabama. And yet they pushed on, and it was just such an eye-opener for me. I was a very young girl when this happened. I had no clue about it, really, and we didn't learn that much about it in school. It was quite amazing. And I felt as though, although this photo was
your voice is breaking. Your voice is breaking up.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Let me move. I'm so sorry. Let me move. I'm gonna move around. Is this any better? A little better?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. Okay, tell me if it breaks up again and I'll move again. So they knew that retribution was in store for them in Alabama because this was such a pocket of hatred and violence. And although the photo was taken more than 50 years ago, I felt like it just resonated so loudly today as the movement remains, obviously very unfinished. I mean, progress has been made, but as we all know, we have a long way to go. So I felt like the book was the legacy person's recap of what happened to him, certainly, and the legacy of the movement, but also certainly where we are and where we need to go. And I was just so moved by the book in so many ways. So I'd like to open it up to discussion. I could talk a lot more, but I don't want to take up more time. So as always, you're all welcome to speak. You don't have to speak. Everyone, you can be a listener or a speaker. Just raise your hand and unmute yourself if you'd like to speak, and I'll call on you. So who would like to speak first? Judy Gertler.
Okay, I will go first.
Okay.
I was in high school when this happened, and I only sort of peripherally knew about the Freedom Riders. I grew up in New York, and in New York, we didn't know from colored and white bathrooms or any of this kind of stuff that went on in the South. So I guess I was aware of it because I had driven to Florida with my parents, I think in like around 1957. And I remember stopping on the Florida Turnpike and there was a white and a colored bathroom. And I said to my mother, what's this all about? And, she explained to me that in the South, they treat Black people differently. But anyway, getting back, to this story, I was very impressed with his passion and determination. His father had said to him, do something, and that stuck in his mind. And he just, it was his calling. And he went through with what he was doing. And I guess he was the youngest person of the Freedom Riders.
Yes.
And all of them were just, so passionate and dedicated. And they were the first ones. And then I forgot, he said in the book how many hundred Freedom Riders they had. So I learned a lot about, the whole Freedom Rider business. I sort of already knew some of the terrible Jim Crow things that they were doing in the South. But I enjoyed reading it. And I must say, I didn't get the book until a week ago because I had some other books from the library that I had waited for and I was in the process of reading. And I got it last Friday and I think I read it in 2 days.
Oh, wonderful.
So I thought it was a good choice.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I felt it was, what I liked about it, one of the reasons I chose it was that it wasn't academic. It was easily read.
Right.
And he writes in such a way that you just want to keep reading.
Right. I mean, I think like a middle school student could read this book.
Yeah, I feel so. And good. Yeah, I just, I came away, one of my takeaways was his, keep going through my mind from everything he did was, what does it mean to belong in America? What does it mean, and to think about that and to have a discussion about it. What does it mean for me? What does it mean for you, for him? It's so diverse, to obviously even today, but okay, who else would like to speak? Richard.
I'll unmute.
Okay.
Now you muted yourself, Richard.
How's this?
Yeah, that's great.
I never did it the right way.
You're good.
Well, he's definitely a hero. There's no getting around it. To think the sacrifices they made. I guess he's had to use a walker ever since the event, if I understood it correctly. That's quite a...
No, because he was in Vietnam. He blames Agent Orange.
Oh, that's how he got the walker. Okay.
Yeah, but he has other health problems from the Freedom Ride.
That time he was put in that solitary confinement, that was just... I won't even go into that because it's so disgusting, but that was unbelievable, I thought, reading about that. It really turned my stomach. I don't know about anybody else, but
Terrible.
And I never knew about this, to be honest with you. Of course, I was real young when this happened. What surprised me, which was nice to see, was how passionate the white people were that were on this.
Me too.
In this event, particularly that guy he befriended that was practically killed.
James Peck.
Yeah. Peck. Yeah. And he couldn't. Even he was trying to understand why he was so dedicated to this, because the guy was so wealthy.
Yes.
White and wealthy. What did he need this aggravation for, is what he was saying in his mind. But I guess it was very important to Jim Peck. I think he was surprised maybe how few people went the first time. What was it, like 18 people the first time in the bus? And how so few people were so young. Although later there was someone that came on the group that was like 19, close to his age, that he
Yes.
befriended.
Mhm.
But I'll be honest with you, this is generally not a book I read a lot, this type of book. I don't read a lot of nonfiction, but for whatever reason, I kept reading it. Within 3 days, I was done.
All right, Richard.
And I haven't done a lot of reading right now, so there's something about this book that got my attention, and read it from beginning to end, but no problem. I don't know if anybody listened to it, but I didn't think about listening to it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's in audio. I'm not sure.
But
Good.
how old would he be now?
He is just 80, I believe.
78.
Almost 78. Okay, just under 80. Yeah. Yeah. And he's got health problems, but he's alive, and quite something, really.
I'm not so sure Alabama is still so wonderful as far as the way they treat black.
It's one of the worst states. Yeah.
I know when I worked for United Way 20 years ago, the president said he went on a United Way of meeting in Montgomery, Alabama. And he said back then, it was over 20 years ago, they would call the African Americans boy. Then, 20 years ago, refer to them as boy. So,
yeah,
it's one thing to have the laws, but it's another thing for it to really happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. All right. Well, thank you, Richard. Thank you. Who else had their hand up? I think Joanna.
Unmute. Yeah, very important book. We should all be reading these when we're in school anyway. A couple of things stood out. First of all, the whole concept of nonviolence. I couldn't be in that movement, because the unfairness and the injustice, you fight to get a law passed, and then you get a law, but it doesn't mean anything if it can't be enforced.
Right.
It was hard. I was getting angry, and the way they were treated, and they went through all this practice and drills to remain not, as I'm reading it, I'm getting angry, just to be trained not to be, to react.
Yes.
And that whole concept, kudos to anybody that can be spit on and whatever and not react. I would never be able to do that, And the idealism in the book, his youth, and that sense of belonging. These are lives that make a difference for other people. And I really admire people who are willing to stand up and put their life on the line to enrich the lives of others. And it was one of those inspirational books. Reading it really impressed me. It was a good read, a really important read.
Thank you. Yeah, so I agree with you. The inspiration is just so inspiring, and people who are willing to do this. And I felt the same way about the pacifism. I thought about it. Could I do that? I wasn't sure I could do that. And some of the members of the writers also, well, there was one particular one who really had a hard time with it. Others not so much, holding back, And so he wrote about that. But what a difficult thing to do, just so hard. But thank you so much. Thank you, Joanna. Who else? Tanya.
Well, I can understand and feel for him, because I'm a natural citizen, and to have that justice and freedom and equality means a lot to me. So I can understand why he was fighting so hard to get recognized, that other people be free and they'll be able to mingle between other people. And what got me very upset is the separation from the white and the African Americans, what happened in the South, how deep it was, the hatred and the killings, and so that made such an impression on me. But I admire him for standing up, giving up college just to go out and fight for freedom. And I think he achieved a lot by meeting different people, like he met King and met other people. And I remember that fact because I was already here in this country. I came in 1950. So I remember when people came and they volunteered to go on the buses. So
Yeah. Oh.
that era was a hard time for everybody. So for me, it was very meaningful, this book, and I enjoyed it. And I always like your choice, so
Oh,
no problem there.
thank you. Thank you. I wished I was old enough to remember what happened, but I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did, and I just feel it's so important for all of us to read about it and know it. There's so many things that I took from this book that I had no idea, like the fact that I knew this, but I didn't really know it. He felt safer in Cuba and Vietnam than he felt in America because they treated him better there. Or that Martin Luther King was unable to go with them on one of their marches because he would break his parole, and if he broke his parole for a parking ticket, he would be in jail for years. And things like that just would never have occurred to me. And anyways, I won't go on. Anne, did you raise your hand?
Yes.
Thank
Well,
you, Tanya. Thank you.
Even when they came home from World War II, they were treated terribly
Oh,
in
yeah.
their uniforms. They just, there wasn't as much discrimination in Europe.
Yeah. And
at the time.
the majority of our military, the great majority of our military is people of color.
Yeah. Well, it's also socioeconomic.
Absolutely. But just think about it. It's people of color who are defending our freedom.
Yeah. But it was a powerful book. And even the couple, 61 years old, I mean, what they took upon themselves to help the Black is admirable. It's unbelievable.
Very admirable.
But my daughter-in-law is the principal of a middle school in Newton, and she's been trying to find, diversity in the staff, people who apply, and she gets very excited when she can employ a Black person, and or Indian or Latino, but they're trying very hard in Newton for diversity. And
Which middle school?
Brown.
Oh, Brown. Oh, wow. That's where all my kids went.
Oh, really? But she's been there her whole teaching career. She started out as a math teacher.
Oh my
And
God.
her name then was Kimberly Morrison. Now it's Lysa. Then she became assistant principal. Now she's the principal.
Oh.
But anyway, I thoroughly enjoyed the book and so impressed with those people. And I really think that middle school kids should read this book. I was a senior in college, but I was a little bit aware of what was going on, but not much. I was up in Maine, one or two Black people there. And I grew up and I thought was a very diverse town. So I went through my yearbook recently because I knew a lot of Black people. And there were 476 in my class, and I counted 7 Blacks. And I was sure there were just in my class, and 2 Chinese.
Oh.
But this was in 1957.
Oh.
Now, I just thought that there were more.
Wow.
I had no issues of discrimination. I know my mother discovered that people said, oh, there's no separation. And so my mother took she took what do you call it? Anyway, she found out that all the Black people lived in a certain area. And it came up the hill, and on one side of the street, it stopped with the Blacks, and on the other side, the whites started. So it was there, but I wasn't really aware of it, but she was.
Yeah. Well, that's just what he talked about when he was so badly injured.
Across the other side of the track.
Dropped him off right on
Yeah.
the other side of the track.
Right.
Right. So he knew,
Right.
the cab driver knew someone would help him.
Yeah.
Which was just so eye-opening. Yeah.
They couldn't find any. I assume they were on public buses, right? Because there were other people on the buses.
Oh yeah, public buses.
So-
Yeah. Well, except
they
for
were-
the Greyhound and the Trailways, those were
Right.
private. Yeah. Yeah.
So they
But I
were
mean,
putting other people in danger as well.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, the cost of service, as he says, the cost of service. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much,
Well-
Anne. Who else would like to speak? Judy.
I was immensely moved and think it was a wonderful choice. And I agree with what's been said about, and I don't know how to do it, books like this should be part of public school curriculum.
Yeah.
I found it both moving and frightening.
Yeah.
Frightening because this was going on, and what scares me, for all we know, there are areas where it is going on
Absolutely.
today.
Absolutely.
And I think the other thing that's terribly disturbing, and I guess this is a political statement, but states must not have the kind of power to destroy lives or restrain lives that Alabama apparently had and got away with. The great thing was the strength of his family, and he talks about family and community,
Yes,
which empowered him growing up.
absolutely.
But I asked myself, how could this happen? Where were we? What were we doing? How did we respond? And I don't know the answer. And why didn't we know more about this?
It wasn't in the news.
That's right. And the lynchings and
Yeah.
I think that what I ask is, what should we do having read the book? What is our responsibility? Where do we go with it? And I don't know the answer. And
Excellent question. Excellent question.
Get it in the public schools. It's a brand new book.
Yes, it's a brand new book. And it's an excellent question. And I think, this book group, because it's recorded, it will go out to the public. And I can talk to Kara, my assistant director, about that, because the staff is actually in the process of doing some professional development involving anti-racism, and some of the webinars are very much focused on just what you're talking about. What is the next step? So I can bring all this up to her and come back to you and see what we can do through the library, obviously, or through you as individuals. And I'd be more than happy to do that. I feel the same way. So let's keep that in our heads. Thank you, Judy. Anything else? Thank you. Oh, you're muted.
He mentions Julian Bond. Is
Yes.
that is the famous?
The Julian Bond, yes. And the John Lewis, yes. He didn't seem to like him very much for whatever reason. He thinks he didn't like him, who knows? But John Lewis went off to India to study Gandhi's techniques. So it's quite interesting. But anyway, who else? Pam. Oh, I think you're muted, Pam. You're muted.
Okay,
Oh,
I'm
there you go.
unmuted now.
There you go.
I have to say I didn't finish the book. I'm about halfway through, just before he's in Washington, before the bus
Okay.
goes. But as always, I really appreciate your choices. It's a book I never even would have encountered. I mean, maybe it'll become more famous. But I really appreciate it and enjoyed the part that I've read. I'll finish it because I know the history. I was like 10 or 11 when this occurred, and I didn't even know anything till probably 10 years later.
Yeah.
Was a history major and always been interested in history, but this is the inside of history. It's the perspective of participant. I mean, it's primary source material, and it's fascinating. It's so different from reading about it in a textbook or the news. I mean, that really excited me.
Right.
And I also really liked his family and the community, and his father saying, do something, and talking about diminished lives. I think his father said those words. And the stories of as a child sitting the Ku Klux Klan driving on the street where he and his father were, and having to get off Stone Mountain, those things, their lives were diminished. He didn't know that as a child, but his family, particularly his father, encouraged him to take a stand.
It was his grandfather.
Oh, was it his grandfather?
Papa.
I got confused with Papa and the father, but yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. But in the end, his father gave him his blessing to go.
Yes. Yeah,
right.
He did.
Sign the papers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But it's an amazing book, and I agree with everybody that I hope it gets more widely known.
Good. Thank you so much. Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming this month. That's great. Good. I think Kevin, did you want to speak? Kevin? Yeah.
Yeah, I have a few points I'd like to say. I enjoyed the description of the Gordon's fisherman on page 143. He said Gordon's seafood must have found a guy like Al Bigelow with their yellow rain-coated fisherman logo. I thought that was kind of cool. I really enjoyed the description of Mr. Person working in the bowling alley. I really enjoyed that. And they kept referencing Blue Holiday by the Shirelles, and I had never heard that song, so I listened to it. It's like a kind of Christmassy song. Pretty good. I liked it.
Right.
And it's just unthinkable how somebody's life would be threatened over where they're seated. It just seems crazy. Jim Peck was my favorite freedom rider. I kind of identified with him a lot, and he looked the same way that I thought he would look in the cover of the Dust Jacket. He looks the same. And then I have just one more point that I'd like to say. In 1954, Brown versus the Board of Education declared that segregation in schools is unconstitutional, but still persistent underfunding of poor communities of color due to exclusionary zoning laws have led to just segregated districts anyway. So some of these laws, there's progress, but there's always people who are going to find a way around it, and find a way to get rid of the progress. So that's all I have to say.
Well, I appreciate your thoughts, Kevin. Thank you so much. The underfunding of schools continues today. It continues in Massachusetts. we are working to make that more equitable across the Commonwealth. But as you know, places like Springfield and Fall River do not get the resources that other cities get, cities and towns. And Joanna, as a teacher, you probably know that more than the rest of us. So it's a problem, and continues today. And really one of the reasons I chose the book, I had no idea it would be so inspiring. Honestly, I was just blown away by it. But really because I felt these issues, especially with George Floyd and Black Lives Matter, these issues just continue. And I think one of you, maybe Judy Wolf, said, how did we not know that these lynchings were happening? Or how did we not know that these people down south were suffering so? Well, when you think of today, how did we not know that people like George Floyd, until just a couple of years ago, how did we not know that people like George Floyd were being, senselessly killed by police? I mean, we knew it, but we didn't really know it. But today, the media has come to, really, social media has come to make this known to everyone, and brought it out. So, Judy?
Your mentioning George Floyd made me wonder, in terms of the book, the personal, instead of thinking of groups, the personal really packs special power. Police brutality is one thing. Knowing that George Floyd was murdered is something else. And what Charles Person does is the same, has the same powerful impact. Why did it wait so long for this to get written and published if he's 79 or 80?
Right, that's a good question. It's a very good question. I don't know the answer to that. Very good question. Yeah, maybe we can do some research on that.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
Yeah.
yeah.
It,
Did you want to say more, Judy?
yes. I've been thinking about trying to get it into schools. And if you, years ago, approached the school committee, they viewed it as interference,
Oh,
infringement on academic freedom, telling them what to do, because people have different points of view and bring in different things. Do libraries face similar constraints?
you mean in trying to, let's
Like-
say, to bring this book to the attention of the schools?
Right, or right. And would you put this in the teen section in the library?
In the teen section, I would have no, right now, it's cataloged as an adult biography, but I would have no problem talking to the teen librarian and saying, would you put a copy in your section? And more than likely, we're a collegial group, and more than likely she or he would say, absolutely, no problem. I'll buy a copy for my section. Absolutely, no problem. So that's how we work. We work together.
You could send a letter to the superintendent of schools, or
Yeah.
even the townsman,
But
the local paper.
that should probably come from the director or the assistant director, don't you think?
I don't know.
I think so. So I will talk to one of them and see where they want.
Or the principals, the principal of the middle school, the principal of the high school.
Yeah, or see where they see where Kara or Jamie want this to go, and I'd be happy to take it wherever they want it. Happy to do that. I think it's very important. I agree totally.
Mhm.
And I'll come back to you with feedback. But I would like to say, there are other books, if you're interested, there are other books along these lines that are recommended. I read an excellent review in the New York Journal of Books, and the writer of that article mentions a few books. Actually, James Peck, who was, the millionaire freedom rider, he wrote his own book called Freedom Ride 1962. It's his own memoir. If anybody's interested in that, it's supposed to be very good. And then there's a book by Paul Kendrick called 9 Days, The Race to Save Martin Luther King's Life and Win the 1960 Election. So in the book, you read about how Martin Luther King changed from Republican to Democrat when Kennedy intervened for him and Nixon did nothing. And so that's supposed to be an interesting book. And also there's a book called Freedom Riders, 1961 and the Struggle for Racial Justice. And that's more about the political climate surrounding the riders. And that's by Raymond Arsenault, Arsenault. And there are others as well.
Who wrote the second book?
Second book is Paul Kendick, 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 9 Days, The Race to Save Martin Luther King's Life and Win the 1960 Election. And so there's quite a bit out there if you'd like to read more. Yeah. So lots to talk about. So we probably should start to wrap up because I did want to tell you a little bit about August. And is there any other thoughts or comments or? Oh, Trisha. Oh, Trisha. Did she come? Trisha? Trisha, hi.
Hi, I'm sorry to be late.
Did you just get here?
I just got to my desk, yes.
Oh, I thought you were in the waiting room all this time and I missed you.
No. I sent you a message earlier saying I was going to be late. Anyway, I'm here.
I'm sorry you missed the discussion.
Yeah.
I did record, it's recorded, so you will be able to see it.
Great.
I'm just going to say that the recording is going to end now, but don't go anywhere because I'm going to talk to you about August. So I'm going to end the recording. Actually, I won't be able to do that until we finish talking. Okay, so we are, as I said before, we're going to a new software for reservations for classes and book groups and so forth. And for August, we're going to start it in August. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to email all of you a link to the page where you will register for the August book group. I'll do that as a courtesy for August because you've never seen it. But moving forward for September and on, you will go to the website and you will go to calendar. And under that, you'll find all the classes, including the book group, and you'll click on it, and that's where you'll register. And once you register, the Zoom link will be sent to your email. And that's how you will get the Zoom link for the class and for any class and for the book group. But just for August, because it's new, I'm gonna email you the link. So for August, we're gonna read The Stationery Shop by Majan Kamali. It's a wonderful book. I see Pam smiling. It's a wonderful book. And I have many copies at the Main. I also have audio copies at the Main. And I told Judy Wolf I would reserve one for her and send it to the Hills. Tanya, do you want me to reserve you one at all, or do you want to just come down to the Main?
I'll be there tomorrow, so I
Pick
can,
one up.
I have
Oh,
to return the book, so I can pick that up
perfect.
if you leave me one.
There's plenty. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
I would love you to send a copy to the Main for me.
There's plenty at the Main. Yeah. You
Oh,
just.
no, I'm sorry. I meant the Hills.
Oh, the Hills, Trisha?
Yeah.
Okay, so you want one at the Hills also? So one for Trisha, one for Judy at the Hills. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Everybody else does their own, right? Am I correct? Okay. Okay. So, yeah, and we will,
Excuse me, I would like one at the Hills as well.
I better make a note of that.
Sorry.
Hold on. No, you're all fine. Don't worry.
I'm doing laundry, that's why I'm.
So Anne, Trisha, and Judy Wolf want all one Hills? You all want Hills?
Hills.
Okay. So we will meet on August 20. That's the third Friday of the month at 10 a.m. And I think that's it. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions?
What is the stationery shop about?
Oh, it's a fiction. You would like that, Richard. It's fiction. It's it's your favorite genre, Richard, historical fiction. And it takes place during the Iranian Revolution. So, what is it, late 70s. And I have to remember now, I read it a long time ago. It's just a beautiful little book. I loved it.
And there's a love story in it too, a nice love story.
A beautiful love story, and beautiful writing, and it has books. And I think you guys will really like it.
Great.
So anyway, but thank you so much for joining us today. And I think it was a great discussion, an important discussion, and great takeaway. I will definitely get you feedback on this book and see where we can go with it, and maybe we can do something. Maybe we can do something. So thank you so much. All right. Well, everybody have a good month, and stay well.
We have time to hear Trisha's feedback.
Oh, Trisha, did you want to speak?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Let me look. I wrote something to you. And so let me read it from, okay. I said rats. Once again, I'm going to miss, but I may be able to come late. When I began this book, I thought, do I have to read this again? Because I've read so many other books about this in the voices of the leadership.
Uh-huh.
But I found it compelling because of it being written in the first person, a young and innocent person coming of age. It's a miracle that he wasn't killed.
Yeah.
The metaphor of the bus is a coming and the exhortation to get on the bus, make me reconsider my stay at home, don't get involved, leave it to the young people's inclination. I wish there had been more photographs. I went back to the John Lewis book. What is that? Walking with the Wind, for photos. Having gone to the South on a civil rights trip pre-COVID, I've also visited Morehouse and eaten at Pascal's. So there was an additional dimension of recognition.
Wow.
As I read the book, I'm going to recommend this to my 18-year-old grandchildren.
Yeah, definitely.
And middle school kids too.
Yeah.
Yeah, true enough. Yeah. Yes. I thought it was very well written.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I loved the repetition of the metaphor throughout the book. Do something, get on the bus.
Exactly, get on the bus too. I always said to my kids, they could hear it from me, just show up. Just show up, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's important. It's very important.
It certainly is.
So thank you so much. Thank you for coming, and I appreciate you making the effort, and all of you, and everybody just, well, stay cool today. It's gonna be a hot one.
Yeah.
Drink your water, and enjoy the month, and everybody be well. And I'll see you soon.
Thanks,
Okay,
Deborah. Have a
goodbye.
good end of summer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care. Bye. Bye.